And welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report. And we have, of course, Ryan here. We're going to be talking about a couple of things. Of course, the big sale's coming up this Friday, right through next Tuesday, over Memorial Weekend. And we have launched not only recently the Sports Energy Light, the Mega Muscles will be available before Friday. Mega Muscles, which is amino acid powder, and I already have it in my fancy drink. And I mentioned it to Clay in the first hour. I have a sachet in my 24 ounces of filtered pure water system water with ice in my big thermos, a sachet of Sports Energy Light, half a teaspoon each of Calm Mind and Brain Mag, quarter teaspoon each of ALC 1000 D-ribose, and a quarter teaspoon of the Mega Muscles amino acids. And that's amazing, that combination. And I can sip on that all day long. I start off with my morning with my drink with Glycemics, Ageless, Energize Ageless, Life Support, NutriComplete, ALC 1000 D-ribose, Omega Cod Liver Liquid in there, and Nutriodine and Cardiovite or Cardiovasc Liquid. So that's quite a drink. And I put that in with one third of the volume is Califia milk, which is no sugar added, coconut and almond milk, and pure water system water. And I keep that blended up in my fridge. And if people want to know that formula, I'll post it up. It's Dr. Bill's, meal replacement drink. But my Energizer drink is this one, and it's fantastic. I mean, it really is. There's no comparison to anything else out there in the market, is there? For a medical, sport, Energizer, and it's smooth energy. It doesn't make your nerves jangle, doesn't make your heart race, doesn't make you feel wired like a lot of the coffee or tea. Or if you drink a big cup of coffee, it goes, and so you feel like, okay, that was a little overstimulating, and your blood pressure's up, and your heart's racing, and you feel tense. An hour or so later, you feel, I'm tired, man. And you feel like, okay, the bottom fell out. So you don't want to feel like that, and you don't. It doesn't stress your adrenal glands to do weird things.
And it doesn't cause the that acidic issue that goes on in your stomach for a lot of people that drink coffee, and they're like, I don't feel great taking it, but I feel like I need it because I like the effect of the caffeine, and you get caught in all these conundrums and stuff. And with this formulation, the Sports Energy Light, it is so remarkable at, as you say, the smoothness of the way that the energy comes around that you don't even really notice it happening. All you notice is you become much more productive, and your brain seems to be clicking on a much higher level, and that it stays that way, for many, many hours. And that is so unlike, I don't care if it's coffee or one of the energy drinks you want to buy from a convenience store. They are not built this way. They are not built with science in mind of bioavailability and half-life. And that's why you listen to Dr. Bill. That's why you want to listen to Nutrimedical Report. You're on a whole different level with regards to what you have access to than just the basic consumers, And,
I have, this is how can I put it this way? This is a person who should have had a consult but didn't. And the wife tried to get the husband to go to his doctor to get proper, at least medical therapy. He had congestive heart failure, and unfortunately, just about 2.5 weeks ago, he died. Now, the fastest rising cause of death due to vascular disease in North America, it's increasing 500% faster than any other cause, is terminal congestive heart failure. An average person with congestive heart failure has the same lifespan survival as a stage 4 metastatic cancer that's metastasized throughout your entire body. 50% are dead in 5 years. Now, there's no need for that. We have things like CoQ10 Supreme, CoQ10 Ubiquinol, Vascucare L-carnitine. We have things to resurrect mitochondria like Nutriodine, Vitothyroid to just reverse your hypometabolism, which is rampant. Just like Dr. Broder Barnes found, all people with vascular disease are basically hypometabolic. And I like it's a better term than hypothyroid, because hypothyroidism may mean you just have an anti-thyroid antibody, but there's a ton of people hypometabolic, 30 times more than people that just have thyroid failure because the gland's attacked. After, for example, an adenovirus or sometimes even a toxic drug that actually causes autoimmune thyroiditis. So these are really big problems, but believe it or not, there is no problem that I haven't tackled and put on our wellness conditions, and I'm updating them all. I have hundreds of updates that are about to be going up here very shortly. In fact, I'll probably get a bunch done over the weekend, even though I'm going to take some time off, too. And I do consults with doctors and patients all over the world. In fact, I've had a number of people try to, quote, take over my business, say, we're going to replicate what you do. I said, no, not. even if you go and try to steal the wellness conditions, please don't go run elsewhere and think you're going to get something equivalent. I can't tell you how many times I get emails from people, tell me if this works, if this can work, Dr. Deagle. I said, why do you ask me about inferior products that are dangerous to you or going to not work? You know, do you want to just kind of pretend to your body that you're going to get better? Or do you want to really get better? For example, simple thing is gout. And I just got an email here, and I can't believe this, you know. It's like they were taking, of course, they had taken sometimes things from us several years ago and got really well. But then they were doing things to try to take control of the gout using, you know, cherry juice and pau d'arco and burdock root and arnica, mineral drops, curcumin, multivitamin minerals. Then they, of course, threw in our Indiamese and Allicin Med. But I'm thinking, no. What is uric acid? It's an abnormal methylation pathway byproduct. So you want to start off with bio-LVR. You want to take methyl, power methyl B12, and superfolate. It's a methylation pathway disorder. If you do what I tell you to do, you not only not get gout, which is crystallized in your joints, but you also not destroy your kidneys and form kidney stones, gouty kidney stones, which is calcium urate stones. But you're also not going to develop tophaceous gout in your feet, which is incredibly painful, or along the tendon sheath, you know, tenosynovitis. I find it frustrating to think, well, you know, it's good to be on a low purine diet, but that's not going to fix gout. Gout is a methylation pathway problem. So, don't you find that kind of amazing that people still kind of wander off and think, well, I know better than Dr. Deagle? Not. Yeah. Now, you prove it to me if you know better than me. Prove it. It's not me being arrogant. I don't want to see it's like a children saying, that's a warm morning over their stove. And there's a little fence around it that's 3 feet high, so little children won't reach over and say, that feels nice, I want to touch it. No, you don't want to touch it. It'll burn you. So, you don't touch the warm morning, or we're going to have second-degree burns minimum on your little hands. We're going to have to take you off to the doctor and slather it up with silver and put things on so you don't slough your skin off or need a graft. And the same thing goes with nutraceuticals, please. And again, I also see people taking things like pain relievers, like prednisone and Vicodin and Tylenol. I had a diabetic just yesterday ask me, well, I take Tylenol. I said, you know what? The renal units are full of people who take Tylenol and the liver transplant units. Don't take non-steroidals ever. Take our Inflamex. Take cell defense, curcumin. For God's sake, don't ever take a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, not unless you want to knock out your brain, cause a heart attack, or destroy your stomach lining, or cause renal failure. In fact, people take Arthrotek and non-steroidals, especially diabetics, and they regularly go into renal failure. Regularly. I mean, if I wanted to switch careers and say, I'm going to stop doing radio, I'm just going to pick up a law degree for a couple of years, and I'm going to go and nail people, it would be like one of those carnivals where you got the gun and you're a pretty good shot, and just sit there and ping off everything and take all the big stuffed animals. Well, I could take all the stuffed animals in the carnival, because these doctors, it's like my friends in the tank force. It's like you do not drive with your tank with your butt hanging out the window of the tank, especially when other people have anti-tank weapons like rocket-propelled grenades and incendiary weapons and so on, and flamethrowers. You don't have your butt hanging out the window. But people, including physicians and healthcare professionals and licensing boards, do. And the drug companies are so damn arrogant, and the vaccine companies, they don't care if you don't even read the product inserts that they're legally required to actually put on the product, because they figure you're not going to read that. If you did, it scared the bejesus out of you, and that's why 56 seconds out of every commercial, 4 seconds of the benefits, tells you all the ways it's going to make you wish you were dead or kill you. All the pharmaceuticals, which I find so evil. It's like, no, this isn't real. And the people will come to me and say, Doc, what about this? Can I take this? I say, how many ways can you die?
Yeah. Well, I love that what you have, Dr. Bill, is obviously the knowledge, but the alternatives, and people
I care about people, too.
That's why they're doing such a great job of listening to you and continuing to grow. They want
as I say, I'm a physician. But basically I'm a sheepdog for God. I have a bark and I have a bite. Long, sharp teeth, titanium alloy. Cut through anything. And stick up for them. Yeah, so it's interesting. One of the things I think people should understand about our nutraceuticals is that they're completely unique, and of course they're customized to each person. I take their history and their wellness. I'm doing consults all hours of the day and night. When I finish Thursday night, my last consult report went out at 10:35 p.m. I would do consults every day, even this weekend, and even though it was a holiday, I'll take time off. I'll have fun with my family, but I'll also be working, contacting doctors and patients around the world. And this is an online practice, if you want to call it, because I'm providing them consults. I'm even telling what conventional tests or surgeons they need to see, like consult over the weekend. I told them you need to get an ENT specialist, do an indirect laryngoscopy and biopsy of your larynx because your 8-DLRIS indicated a future risk of laryngeal cancer. And the frequency match was really high. People need to understand that. We can actually tell them what pathogens. If they want to confirm them, we can order at directlabs.com the stool test to confirm the pathogens we found on the 8-DLRIS. And then we can clear them with things like berberstatin, allicin med, nutriodine, heal the gut wall with GastroHeal, which is zinc carnosine. Recolonize it with the very best probiotics, living probiotic, the Roselle 6 strain from Paris we get, which is our standard, and the most powerful probiotic on the planet, Living Probiotic Ultra. People need to understand they're not going to get this quality of one-on-one care anywhere on planet Earth. That's why I have patients and doctors from Malaysia to South Africa to New Zealand to Russia, everywhere, Norway, Scotland, Ireland, Britain, everywhere on the planet. In fact, we've shipped everywhere. I think the only place we haven't recently shipped is McMurdo Bay, Antarctica, where I used to take care of the SPT South Pole Telescope team from Colorado Springs back in 1994, 95. So you got to understand, I'm driven to try to train doctors, and by the way, I'll train them if they will call me on any issue of any specialty anywhere on planet Earth. I will explain things to them and give them technology, or even tell them the conventional advanced genetic or other test to prove the science. In fact, I'm collaborating with scientists in China, Russia, and also a research scientist, bariatrician at UCLA, Dr. Liu. So, you know, on the other side, I'm doing the actual physical research and developing things like our Dr. U book. So when I hear people try to flog their nutraceutical, we have unqualified people who don't know what the heck they're doing, and they're trying to tell people we want to sell a vitamin. No, we're not selling vitamin. We're selling to you to become an empowered person, to know what you need to take today that will be different in 3 or 6 months to make yourself well, which is a lot different than sick. Wellness means long before you have pathology, we fix the underlying problems so you don't develop pathology down the road, because symptoms often come long after you're really sick or may never happen until you're almost terminal. And people need to understand symptom-based or sign-based medicine is stupid. It doesn't work. It's often too late, too little, and won't really change the time course unless you start to fix the underlying biochemistry or toxicology. And that's the problem. I was trained in symptom and sign-based medicine, and when they got fancy technology, people rely too much on testing. And they had wrong tests that were incomplete, and then they say, well, if we fix the test, the patient must get better. If they don't, it's their fault. No, it's the fault of the knucklehead doctor that thinks that they fix the test, the patient isn't really dead. They just are pulseless, but they're just, playing dead. No, they're dead because you didn't understand the problem. And that's kind of aggravating, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
Very aggravating. And, of course, people try to use false logic and try to say, well, no, we really understand the problem. No, you don't. Nope. No, you don't, actually. Like the mold illness thing, we talked about this. Or we talked about, give you an example. You have people exposed to a lot of toxic chemicals. I have this painter, very prominent painter, and he got exposed to a lot of toxic chemicals from painting. Well, he's got, risk of vascular disease, so he's going to be on Cardiovasc Supernox, to nitric oxide, Omega Supreme Krill. His blood viscosity and his QRMA was high, so he needs nattokinase. He needs to restore gamma E, which restores your ion channels, so you keep the calcium out of the cells and bring it in only when it needs to be in. You need to stop cholesterol oxidations and lengthening the telomeres, so you need anti-age max. You need to stop free radicals and protect the cells, so you need CoQ10 Supreme, VascuCare to raise the metabolic activity of the mitochondria in your blood vessel walls and your heart. You need to protect your DNA from oxidative stress and damage, ellagic acid, malignant block, and full vitamin K2 Power C. If you look at this very systematically, every one of the nutraceuticals we recommend for a specific condition based on their history or their QRMA or 8-DLRS test or functional medicine blood, urine, stool tests or genetic analysis is customized exactly to the fingerprint of what they need right now. And that's why I love the technology of the QRMA and functional medicine tests like directlabs.com, so I can tell you what test to order. You can order it and save 72% on average by doing it yourself, so you don't have to wait. And then you can combine it with home technologies, VibraSlim, with body elastic bands and light hand weights for VibraFit activity, better than the so-called, the boxes. Have you ever seen these shows, Ryan, what they call it, CrossFit? I think you have to have your wires crossed in your brain to do CrossFit, because you're going to get injuries because you're not concentrating on proprioception. You do explosive activity that, where weights drop on your head or you tear muscles or ligaments. You want to do weights, and you want to do free weights, but you want to do them where you're doing like VibraFit and tension bands and so on, so you put joints to a full range of motion. Well, you need to have the nutraceuticals, Joint Performance and Tendon Mender, and Collagen Max. So let's talk about these for a minute. If you don't build up the tensile strength of your tissues and joints, and you don't stimulate proprioception, you're going to tear something, and those micro tears are going to cause a macro tear, and you're going to rupture your shoulder, or tear an ACL, or rupture the limbus of the meniscus around your knee, the medial condyle of your knee, on your on your tibial plateau. So, what's in them? What's in Joint Performance and Tendon Mender and Collagen Max that'll help people from getting injuries?
Well, Tendon Mender has just been an absolute lifesaver for a lot of people with repetitive motion injury problems that relate to, elbows, shoulders, knees, wrists, the feet, like plantar fasciitis or Achilles tendinopathies, where, it's very hard to deal with these issues. Even if you're, trying to rehab and stuff like that, they don't tend to recover very well. And so I love Tendon Mender. It's a very unique material. It's derived out of the rooster combs, those red things that you see on the top of roosters. There's a particular glucosaminoglycan that can be isolated and then purified down that creates a substance that basically is like a reprogramming. It's like booting up, a different message for your computer. And what this message says is, hey, all those tenocytes that have thickened up and basically caused you to have less range of motion and increased pain, we want you to start relaxing. We want you to start thinning out, realigning, and not, behaving a lot like scar tissue. And lo and behold, all of a sudden people are improving that range of motion and reducing that inflammatory response and getting their lives back to normal. And they didn't have to do any additional rehabilitation. Remarkable on how well that formulation has worked. And then the Joint Performance, it tackles really the inflammation that's occurring in the synovial fluid, because when that's left unchecked, you basically stimulate the process to break down cartilage. And so over years and years and years, you end up as a, say, osteoarthritic person. But in the early stages, you really just have inflammation in your joint fluid. It's just like changing the oil in your car. You can do it.
Yeah.
That's Joint Performance.
Right. And by the way, to go with that is leptin metabolic that works wonderfully to reduce the cytokines in the joint inflammatory markers like IFN gamma, IL-2, 6, TNF alpha, turns them off. So your joints aren't going to cause super-related cartilage and inflammation. And we're talking, by the way, any hour of the program is open lines. It means open lines for any hour except the first hour on Friday. And, of course, that means 800-259-5791. The only things I'd ask are three things. Number one, you stay on topic. There's no ad hominem attacks, and you have to say precisely what your question or statement is. You can't just be and make it a vague statement and try to take over the show. No, not going to happen. You have to make a specific statement. So those three things: stay on topic, give us exactly what you're saying, and no ad hominem attacks of us or anybody else. You can destroy, damage their, if you want to call it their ideas, that's perfectly fine, or the references, but we don't believe in ad hominem attacks. Not here. Ryan, let's talk about some of the other amazing nutraceuticals, and I really am so excited about how we're bringing on these new products, like the Mega Muscles now coming on, the Sports Energy Lights. When somebody has bad allergies, the first thing I tell them in the spring now is Allerblock and Allergon. If they worry about pathogens like chronic sinus infection, get a Sinupulse Elite, put in the machine Nutriodine, and take your Allicin Med orally every day. If you've got eye disease, we use Silver 100, Vision Max, and Can-C eye drops. The Vision Max essential for eye care, and to protect your retina, Neurogen, Cell Detox Glutathione, Nutritrella to stop glycation of the lens of your eye. And if you're worried about reversing the cataracts, you want to use Lumen Photon with the setting number 7 for reducing intraocular pressure, and Nico for regeneration of your retina in your eye. Literally, we have protocols for everything. You want to be smarter next week, and you're going to school, or you're worried about losing your marbles because you're getting middle of life and you have a lot of kids still around in their 20s and 30s still going to school because the economy is shot. I think they say 36 to 40% of males up to 36 years of age are still home with their parents because the economy is so bad. That's a pretty bad sign, but it certainly is not like what people expected back in the early 80s when I was around, when only a tiny percentage was back with their parents because the economy was so much better. You want to improve your brain function? Cognition plus the brain power. Let's talk about these for a minute, because we have a lot of brain amplifying things that'll make your brain work and hum like a well-oiled engine. How's that? BioLVR, I like Neurogen, Cognition Plus, and Brain Power. Those would be the top four. I'd start with your brain. And to stop free radicals, Cell Detox, Glutathione, Nutritrol, and Regenerex.
Wonderful formulations, Dr. Bill, for the brain. Brain Mag is definitely one of the bigger ones that people should be aware of because it's so fundamental and elemental for the body. You're talking about a format that allows the magnesium that you take to cross the blood-brain barrier effectively. And so I think the long thought process was take a whole bunch of magnesium from, various forms, and eventually it'll cross the brain and so forth. This is one that just directly wants to be absorbed by the brain and create a dramatic impact. So a lot of people that are dealing with issues with regards to the headaches are a good example. Very, challenging for a lot of people to nail down where the sourcing is, and many people know that magnesium can, in some cases, help, but being able to use a form like Brain Mag that can cross the blood-brain barrier, I know you get that kind of feedback all the time of the benefits that it helps these people that have even chronic-based problems there. Fear extinction is another key area that magnesium levels in the brain in animals, what that means is the higher the magnesium level is in the brain, the better the animals are at basically rewriting their history. When I say rewriting, it's like whatever's happened to you in the past, a tragedy, a problem, something that continues to plague you, or a submarine you, where you're like, I don't know why I keep doing that to myself. I create a fear and an anxiety and a panic disorder. Making sure you have adequate amounts of magnesium in the brain is actually a really critical element as to whether or not you can rewrite that into a normal way, and that's known as fear extinction in animal laboratory studies.
Yeah, exactly. And we mentioned earlier, for example, gout. We use Inflamex and Samethyl for gout, BioLVR. Vein Away, which is very important for the small vessels, superfolate, power-methyl B12 to repair the DNA, ellagic acid and malignant block, and the minerals. Obviously, if you stabilize the mineral content and the activated vitamins. And so, in other words, things like tendon, mender, and joint performance. If you've got chronic tendonitis or other problems, you want to rebuild those connective tissues. You need Collagen Max, joint performance, tendon mender, and we add the oral under the tongue. Mountain Red Velvet, we actually are going to be the first in the world to launch here in North America. We'll have exclusive on it of the DR cap. That'll be our Nutrimedical Mountain Red DR, and that'll be coming out here probably in the next month or two. We'll be the first on the planet in human history to have a DR cap that'll deliver to the terminal small bowel, where it'll go into the micellar formation in the ileum, terminal ileum. And of course, when you add that to our Collagen Max, Mountain Red Velvet, and Joint Performance Tendon Mender, you can regenerate any joint. You don't need to rush off and say, I need to have a joint replaced. No, you might need to have a joint clean out and kind of clean out the garbage out of the joint, but you don't need a joint replacement. I really don't need to find, literally 99% of the people are not so far gone that we can't fix the problem and let them get away from pain, get full range of motion back, and regenerate the connective tissues and the cartilage and the hydroviscous layer. It's that important. And putting an artificial knee replacement, I mean, they constantly are marketing in this because the big drug companies and the big, manufacturers of joint replacement. And I've seen more complications than you can shake a stick at. In fact, I had more callbacks to my clinic or hospital for joint replacements than any other single medical condition. Bad stuff. Nasty stuff, but profitable. Avoid. Yeah, nasty, but very profitable. I'll tell you, you're going to make a mega bucks. And of course, the medical profession, by and large, are gutless whiners, and they won't tell the truth or even raise questions that could even call into question the science based on what they're doing. And if they did, and they were honest, they actually say, well, I don't think we should do this, and unfortunately, they don't. Nasty, eh? Now, Brian, I want you to, because I've ranted a bit here, I want you to tell us what you would do. Now we're approaching the summer. People want to get slim, people want to get healthy, people want to get their, they want to slow the aging process, so next year they're healthier this summer and healthier yet next summer because they're going to be on Nutrimeds. what would you tell people to do to slim down? You know, we have need formulas like Herbal Block.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think that, people using something like the shakes is a very important thing right off the bat, and that would be for people that have weight to lose. I like glycemic meal as the first choice. It not only helps as a meal replacement directly, which is a great thing to use a couple times a day, but the ingredients that are in there have a longer lasting effect to help control things like carbohydrate absorption throughout the day. And so that makes a different impact on how the rest of your food that you consume starts affecting you. But when it comes to keeping blood sugar under control, shakes tend to be one of the best ways to jumpstart this process. And then usually adding in a diet that's low in inflammation, or a modified elimination diet, can be very helpful. So I like that, or Ageless, or I guess we would say Ageless Energize, or Life Support. Any of these three shakes, if you're looking at bathing suit season and stuff like that, you want to use those as a starting point. And then adding in things like leptin metabolic for those individuals that maybe they've struggled a lot with dietary changes and saying, it's very hard for me because my appetite seems to be out of control. I don't seem to ever be satiated. That is a issue where we start looking at whether or not the brain is sensitive to the message of leptin. And so leptin metabolic is a cool substance that basically helps regulate leptin levels, and then the downstream effect seems to be as one, appetite changes, and then that helps stimulate people and move people in the right direction for weight management, as we all know, because if you're going to be constantly hungry, it's very difficult for you to really be able to say no and to move forward with successful weight loss, which is meaning long-term. We're not talking about just short-term fixes here.
Yeah, and you have to look at what is obesity, and I started research. In fact, I think I'll be publishing my research this year. And I believe I've closed the final loop on what diabetes is, and I'm actually trying to confirm it with a research study with Dr. Carson Liu, one of the top bariatrician surgeons in the world at UCLA. And what obesity is basically a pre-diabetic condition where you have insulin resistance, leptin resistance, and peripheral thyroid conversion, not to T3, which is the activated hormone, but reverse T3 that blocks your metabolism. And you have to fix it metabolically. So even if you did surgery or you got an extreme diet, which is too low calories like the HCG diet, you've got to fix the metabolism. You have to fix the metabolic disorder, or you're going to get sicker or malnourished. Medical report, and of course we want to take your specific questions on any topic whatsoever. And people need to understand this. We were trying to provide you here a level of ability to manage your health care like you've never had before. It's important to understand that this is exactly what we're trying to do here at Nutrimedical, is make you Dr. You. And the book Dr. You is going to discuss a number of things. The first, it's going to explain what a living thing is and what your health is. And health is not just a lack of symptoms. Health is we call optimized wellness, where your biochemistry, your genetic expression, the lack of toxins to interfere with your genetics, the presence of nutrients that have been literally created that jump a gene defect which you may have had through your ancestry, or toxic blockades because of heavy metals, chemicals, etc., that can block enzymatic processes, no longer is interfering. And that's what's really important for people to understand, is that we're not doing symptom-based treatment. We're going well beyond that to pathophysiological abnormalities we call functional medicine. This is what we call living pathology. And it's very unique. It's a new science. In fact, the Dr. You book is going to empower you, just like the jurisdictionary course with Dr. Fred Graves that teaches you procedure and rules of evidence, which are 34 pages, I think, roughly, of rules of procedure for federal and state court, and only about 10 pages of rules of evidence. If you master those, just like the principles we're teaching here in this program, you don't have to know about every disease and every pathology, but if you know and can follow the protocols, as I put up more and more wellness conditions and put out the first book of Dr. You, which I'm hoping will be ready for us by July, the July 4th holiday special, then you'll get the level of empowerment to know at the first level what you need to do as you call first level health professional, what things are safe in terms of medicine, what surgery is safe and not safe, what nutraceuticals and why you have to have them customized and literally jump to the activated form and a delivery system that's going to work in your body, not just pretend by putting it on the label. You want to be able to know what tests you can test to see if what you're taking is actually working, whether it's advanced conventional testing, blood work, urine, stool, genetic tests like 23andMe and Prometheus to analyze your data, nonlinear analysis like the QRMA or bioplasm, how you confirm it with other testing such as imaging studies, organic acids in urine, intermediate metabolites, immunotoxicology testing that can determine if, for example, if you have Lyme disease, you have a mitochondrial dysfunction, if you've got heavy metals, if you've got organic acids indicating post-traumatic brain injury after a trauma, there's going to be organic acid changes. I provide all of that. And what we're doing with the wellness conditions, I'm going to be bumping it up a bunch of notches. You'll see a number of things that are more advanced reference material in each of the wellness conditions. You're going to see a much more information in the wellness book, the Dr. U book, even than in the wellness conditions, so that book will have more information. It'll contain also hyperlinks directly to video clips, etc., to research, and we may even be having full conferences and cut and paste articles and so on that you can actually see video and other material. So it's going to be very dynamic. As it develops over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see the Dr. U book series and the video clips and everything it's linked to become a major tool to change medicine. It'll be tied to our development of newer technologies like the latest advances of diagnostics with the QRMA, the 8D-LRIS and 8D-LRIS 3D, which we're working on developing the next generation. Dr. Michael Chen, the engineer from China, Dr. Wang and his colleagues will be coming out after they're now in India at the institute there in Delhi, India. They'll be coming out to actually visit and do some further advancement of the technology with me here in California. What you need to know is that we're on the cutting edge. We do the show so we get a platform to tell you about these technologies because we want you to pull the science of functional medicine forward. And there'll be a number of health professionals around the world, professional trainers, chiropractors, naturopaths, MDs, subspecialists that want to be better as a neurosurgeon so they don't get post-traumatic brain swelling caused by trauma of surgery itself, to relieve of meningiomas or relieving pressure from post-traumatic spinal cord injury so we can stop gliosis of the cord. We have protocols for virtually everything, for how to recover from cardiac arrhythmias and atrial fibrillation, to how to stop chronic fatigue syndrome, how to deal with early Alzheimer's disease with demyelination, how do we quantitatively measure what's going on there with quantitative EEG, SPECT blood flow scans, and a positron emission tomographic scans, organic acids to look at brain function and myelination, and T1 weighted MRI scans to look at the myelin pattern and different neural tracts in the brain. And the quantitative EEG, what it does is measures the specific voltages across the cortex, the areas of coherence in terms of frequency coherence, in terms of statistical frequency matching to create a neural network, and how the brain works. And I explain that in kind of rudimentary terms, but if people want more specific and more advanced scientific, technical information, I can explain that to them. And unfortunately, most, even scientists and neuroscientists, don't know what a neuron is. They don't know how the brain really records or how to hack into the brain, which is also dangerous because DARPA and other organizations are spending trillions of dollars to hack into the human consciousness, whether it's through commercials or big blockbuster movies or what I call massaging the psyche of the global population of people in the various, what I call, instead of calling them nations, one we call them the farm of America, the farm of Britain or Canada, because they treat everyone now like farm animals. And I don't. I treat you like a sovereign human being made in the image of the Most High God. And that needs to change dramatically, that we start taking a little bit different approach to what a human being is. And how important this is to understand that. When we look at the kind of the issues that make people well sick, for example, I just had a recent consultation with a gentleman who picked up an 8D-LRIS for his disabled son. Well, he will have a QRMA test and his history and his 8D-LRIS, and then I can actually log on to TeamViewer 10 and actually look at the spectral pattern sections through different target organs and tell him exactly what's wrong with his pathology. When I looked at our gentleman yesterday who had a bioplasm NLS done, and he had actually one of the machines, thousands of miles away from here, we were able to analyze. I was able to look at his spectral pattern and say, you've got degenerative hip problems, you have signs that are frequency matching for a potential laryngeal carcinoma, and you have signs that there may be hidden vascular disease and other problems present. Also right shoulder, rotator cuff, long biceps tendonitis. All those are identified on the bioplasm NLS, so it's pretty dramatic when you can do that. We can actually diagnose that. I had a recent consult with a individual who not only got a QRMA, but they sent it on themselves, their brother, and also a lady. And she literally, after they sent the QRMA test, they said, well, she just got cancer and got a real recent diagnosis. I said, well, here's the protocol to deal with the cancer, which is a big issue. And people need to know that we can help, whether it's an acute cancer or cancer prevention if you've already had treatment for it. We can help with all kinds of conditions. So we have temporal arteritis, where you've got inflammation and antibodies against the temporal arteries and the arteries that supply the brain circulation. So you need to reduce arterial inflammation. You need to reduce blood viscosity. You need to restore anti-inflammatory fatty acids. You need to restore brain microcirculation so you don't end up with a stroke or a area of malperfusion of different parts of the brain. So we can do that, and we can prove that what we're talking about works with recommendations for advanced imaging as well as the functional medicine test. So this is not just herbology or playing around the edges of it. No, we're talking about the center core of how functional medicine works. When people ask, what diet do you recommend? Well, firstly, the paleo diet never existed. Neither of you realize no cavemen ever eat the paleo diet. Our carbohydrates are toxic because when you have rapidly absorbed sugar, which we've had 100 years ago when you used to have bread, it would take a day to absorb it. And we have tiny little micro rocks in it. You want a low carbo diet. I call the best overall plan is the George Cruz diet, combined with our drinks like glycemics and the carbo blocker, which is far better than acarbose, which doctors prescribe. Leptin metabolic, which will actually reverse the insulin resistance and lipoflush. Diabetoline, Minerals Plus, Chromium Cruciferate, and Biotin Plus. What I like is a combination of a smoothie of glycemics, life support, NutriComplete, and Ageless. Amazing. We'll be back in a moment with hour number 3, and we'll have John on for a while, and then Mark Kaplan, a brand new guest, amazing topics, and we're going to talk about how can I say it? Spiritual survival and all the things connected with that. Coming up tomorrow, amazing new programs. You don't want to miss it. Call any time for your question or comment, 800-259. And this Wednesday, John B. Wells from Caravan to Midnight will be on the program in hour 3.